A verified account is, you'd think, one in which the account owner is verified to actually be the person they appear to be. That was the original purpose of them on Twitter, where the concept originated. If you're a public figure, you're likely to have parody accounts making jokes in your name, or scammers or bots, and so, once you prove that you're you got a little checkmark beside your name. Other websites do something similar. On YouTube, you automatically get a checkmark after you hit 100,000 subscribers. On TikTok, anybody can apply for verification, but it's granted on a case-by-case basis. On Facebook, everybody has to provide government ID for a new personal account now if your account name looks suspicious. In fact, all of these sites and more have been moving away from the just sign up model, requiring phone numbers to even use them. I've never liked this trend of merging your online and offline life excessively, something I've spoken about on this channel multiple times. I get it if you need to figure out if people actually deserve verification, but for just some random person signing up for a new burner account, it seems like way too much overreach for my liking. The issue is, at some point, verification on Twitter stopped being for people who were notable public figures at risk of impersonation. They were just that on Twitter for 7 years, from the pilot program's introduction in 2009 up until 2016. But that's when the trouble began. On January 8, 2016, British journalist and Gamergate-era provocateur Milo Yiannopoulos tweeted a screenshot of an email from Twitter informing him that his verification badge had been removed due to recent violations of Twitter rules. Milo claimed that Twitter didn't tell him which rule he had violated, and it was his belief that it was because he was a popular, right-leaning media figure. Twitter executive Nathan Hubbard, making clear that he wasn't speaking on behalf of the company, offered the suggestion that it was due to this tweet, where Milo said to another user that he deserved to be harassed. Milo countered this claim by saying that deserved to be harassed was an in-joke between conservatives, and that Twitter is moronic. Now, as an old fag myself, when I began to research this topic, I was surprised that this is considered the official history as to why Milo got de-verified. Because man, I was there, and that isn't the reason. That isn't what happened. What actually happened, I remember it well, is that Milo changed his profile to describe his job title as BuzzFeed's social justice editor. Considering that, at this time, the verification badge was used to declare that a person was actually the public figure they said they were. The fact that Milo was jokingly claiming a job title that wasn't his meant that the verification badge was Twitter backing up that mistaken claim. Therefore, it was pretty reasonable to remove it. And, of course, Milo would claim that it was because of his political beliefs that he got de-verified, rather than the actual reason, because there's social clout in being a victim. He did the same thing when he got banned a few months later for calling the Ghostbusters 2016 black actress Leslie Jones a black dude and barely literate. Regardless of whether or not you believe this kind of banter should be a punishable offense on social media, I personally believe it shouldn't be, though it makes Milo an asshole. It clearly didn't happen for political reasons. The next wave of de-verifications in 2017, though, did seem to be done for political reasons. Both the American white supremacist Richard Spencer and the British nationalist Tommy Robinson were de-verified on Twitter, along with a slew of other smaller accounts that espouse political views significantly to the right of the online Overton window. It's also in 2017 that another trend started to pick up. People actually started to get big on Twitter being reply guys to Donald Trump. Trump was in the first year of his presidency at the time, and he hadn't gone completely off the rails yet due to the massively addictive social media feedback loop that seemed to have warped his perception of reality by 2020. But there were a ton of progressives who had already been thoroughly mind-fucked by Hillary's 2016 loss, coping under every single tweet Trump made. I really want to hammer this point home to you guys, if you weren't really around back during this time. Entire journalist and influencer careers were created by having a hot take under Trump's tweets. Most notably is the account of Jeff Tiedrich, originally only known as the father of the awkward zombie chick, whose recently unverified Twitter account now sits at 1.1 million followers. He built this platform by being one of the first to reply to Trump every single time, and considering how quick he was to the ball, day or night, 24/7, it's not a huge leap to say he has the most terminal case of Trump derangement syndrome ever witnessed. For the first few years of Trump's presidency, you could basically expect the same pattern to play out whenever he hit Twitter. Anytime Trump announced anything, good news or bad, red meat for Republicans, or stuff even the most die-hard lefty could support, his replies were flooded with verified Twitter accounts, all clamoring to farm clout and build up their presence online. As a result of this phenomenon, the phrase blue checkmark or blue check became a shorthand used by average people to refer to verified accounts that regularly give the most garbage takes imaginable. As a result, to most normies, getting verified was actually a mark against you, while to those people who were actually verified, it continued to be viewed as a status symbol. This growing divide became entrenched, with the plebs creating various blue check memes and laughing at the verifieds, while the verifieds continued to act as a weird internet quasi-nobility, looking down upon their followers. But as soon as it hit their ears that their status symbol was considered a mark of mockery, they struck back. Yes, actually. Verified is now a derogatory term on Twitter. Somehow, becoming verified is synonymous with being a liberal elitist. Imagine how much copium you have to huff to actually write this article. What's happening here is that the verified class actually took their blue check marks very seriously. They considered it a mark of distinction. They earned it by somehow being notable. And of course following the correct political views. Because after the de-verification of Tommy Robinson and Richard Spencer, the shackles were basically off in terms of stripping that seal of approval from anybody who didn't toe the progressive political line. For some of these people, they were in fact notable, like actors or musicians or government officials. For others, they were online influencers, whether that be through actually creating something on YouTube or Twitch, or just getting well known underneath Trump's tweets like Jeff Tiedrich. And yet for others, they had dead or nearly dead accounts, no followers, no engagement, but they were journalists working for progressive news organizations, and Twitter wanted to show that whatever they posted could be trusted as having journalistic integrity, especially when Sean Davis wanted to search for mommy milky porn on Twitter and accidentally tweeted it. We all just had to know that that was officially coming from him. So, if you were somebody who made fun of people who took their verified status too seriously, if you used the phrase blue check as a pejorative, you were one of those nails that had to be hammered down. You were the pleb who was getting a bit too uppity. There's a huge overlap between this concept and the idea that journalists are alongside racial or sexual minorities as being a protected class, something that I covered a few years ago. What's going on here is that these people believe that their work is so important, it needs to be amplified and given all the weight of the platform as an authoritative source. But it's not like these people are reporting on Vietnam or some shit. They're not even claiming to be objective anymore. A Washington Post opinions columnist who's writing about the intersectional transphobia of her yoga class from the comfort of her downtown high-rise cosmopolitan $5,000 a month apartment, sipping on her Starbucks and feeding her collection of cats, while wondering why she can no longer bag hot young guys at the bar as a 38-year-old drunk off her ass on a box of wine she pre-drank at her equally vapid friend's house, which she later projectile vomited into the disgusting cum-covered toilet of said club's shitter, before stumbling home all the while recording a video for TikTok about how all men are misogynist because none of them want to fuck her anymore, and denying her sex as it involves males weaponizing their power against her right to get laid, is not the same thing as an actual journalist who does respectable, important reporting. This was the paradigm for a long time. Verified Twitter users acting superior, plebs pushing them off their high horse, people desperate for clout scrabbling to get that blue check. And it all changed once Elon Musk took over. Elon announced last year that while government officials would gain a gray check mark to denote their status, the blue check would become the Twitter Blue program, where anybody could buy the blue check mark for $8 a month. If 8 sounds like a strange number, that's because it's actually the result of a weird back and forth between Elon and Stephen King. King tweeted, angry at the indignation that he'd have to pay for his verification, $20 a month to keep my blue check? Fuck that, they should pay me. If that gets instituted, I'm gone like Enron. Elon simply replied, we need to pay the bills somehow. Twitter cannot rely entirely on advertisers. How about $8? This exchange went viral because the idea of haggling over a blue check was just peak 2022, and that mimetic $8 number stuck. As a result of the change, we saw a few very interesting effects. Firstly, a lot of low-level journos, has-beens, and other relatively unimportant people lost their grandfathered blue checks. It seemed like for a while, Twitter was going to add a separate status for people who used to have the old blue check, some kind of legacy verification, but that only stuck around for a couple months, and at the time of recording, it's since vanished. But those people who lost their verified status and were left naked, out in the cold, defrocked, they threw an absolute fit. Look at how quickly they melt down the second those credentials are stripped. Remember, these people desperately wanted that blue badge. They based their personality off of it. I'm not joking. If you live in San Francisco, you can get a blue check on your house if you're verified online. Seriously. Yeah, this began as a meme, but the artist who made it actually started offering it as a real service after it went viral, and she was told just how many people in the Bay Area actually wanted it. Imagine getting a verified blue check mark put on the front of your house, guys. It's basically a public display that you're an asshole, and an invitation for robbers to come take all your stuff. The second effect was that celebrities who had the blue check but lost it began to beg Elon Musk and Twitter to have it back. Kim Kardashian wanted her blue check mark back, but she didn't want to pay for it. This bitch spent $36,000 in a purse, but can't do $8 a month? Same thing with Charlie Sheen. He made $1.8 million every episode of 2.5 Men. What is this e-begging shit? The third effect was seeing celebrities who do have the blue check fervently claim that they're not paying for it, that it was actually grandfathered in, or it's some kind of glitch or something. They would never pay the hateful Elon Musk for a Twitter status symbol. Of course, many of them had no problem paying Twitter up to $15,000 for their old blue check mark under the previous ownership. These people are actual filth. The terror they all display, that their comrades will destroy them for displaying the symbol that they coveted so deeply just a few days ago. Elon really did expose these creatures to the sunlight. And if you want to see this turned up to 11, look at the meltdown of the various de-verified news organizations. Here's the New York Times saying that they won't pay the $8 for the verified check, which I guess is technically not a lie because instead of paying $8 for a blue check, they paid $1,000 for a gold check. Yes, you can buy a gold verified checkmark for $1,000 a month, though that service is specifically meant for private organizations. Here's what's underneath all of this. The celebrities, the actors, the journalists and elites, they're not mad that the blue check costs money. If it cost $10,000 a month, they would gladly pay for a badge of exclusivity. They're mad that it costs an amount of money that you can afford. So if a peasant can afford it, they believe they should get it for free. And they have to make it very clear that you and them are not the same. You paid for it. They received it as a gift for being them. Whether or not that's actually true, the appearance of status is what's important here. The latest piece of the story is that verified accounts get boosted in the algorithm, meaning that if you pay the $8 a month, or you have a checkmark through some other method, more people will see your tweets. I don't know if this is a good or a bad move, we'll have to wait and see. But personally, I don't care too much, because Twitter's a shithole anyway. The issue I have with this whole thing is, before Twitter started de-verifying people for wrongthink, it was actually a good system. Verification is important, not so that you know what the correct thing to think is, which is how a lot of progs use the system. I think at least a small part of why people make fun of fact checkers and debunkers is due to the blue check phenomenon too. But it's actually important so that you can tell what a person or organization's official stance on a topic is. I remember a Twitter account that was meant to look like an official Twitch page, stating that Twitch had relented on the ad revenue split at the height of that controversy. It's a funny troll, but people quickly tuned into the fact that it was a troll, because the parody account didn't have a verified checkmark. Of course, verification doesn't mean that messages from official accounts are always trustworthy. Remember the great Twitter hack of 2020, where a bunch of prominent verified Twitter accounts were giving out Bitcoin scam links? A blue check won't stop you from getting hacked after you open that spam email like a moron. But for the most part, Twitter verification before worked. Once it became less about verifying that the person you're talking to is actually who they claim to be, and instead is somebody that promotes views that Twitter considers to be the truth, the entire system stopped working. Its collapse into a for-pay status symbol was basically inevitable at that point, once the right owner of Twitter came around. To somebody as diehard capitalist as Elon Musk, there's no reason that what Twitter considers to be the truth wouldn't morph into whoever paid Twitter for the status. That's not to say that I think that paying $8 a month for a blue checkmark is a bad idea. It's not. Like Elon said, you gotta pay the bills somehow. In my opinion, there should be some type of badge, like the original verification, meant only for notable people who need to show that they are who they say they are, without prejudice in regards to what type of content they post. There's no reason that your Twitter account can't have multiple ranks or badges on it. Twitch does it, Discord does it, but I have a feeling that that door might be closed at this point. Oh well, it's still a lot of fun to watch the people addicted to Twitter wail and gnash their teeth over a tiny blue check.